Good morning. Welcome to my tutorial class. My name is Gbest and I'll be your instructor throughout the duration of this course. Well, the purpose of this particular course is to introduce you to the Ielts question format, tell you what type of questions to expect on the test day, how to go about answering them, including tips and strategies, so that you're well prepared for this test. You're not surprised at seeing strange new things. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is the most important part of the tutorial series, because there are going to be more videos coming. So, get your pen and jotter, get a very comfortable place, and move away from your bed, please, so you don't fall asleep. Like I said, it's the most important because this is the foundation. If you don't understand the foundation, it will be very difficult to build on top. So, this is just the first part of a series of videos. So if you don't understand this, it will be difficult to build on top. And most students who fail the test don't fail it because they are dumb or they are not smart enough, but because it has certain principles that you need to follow when you answer questions, and they fail to adhere to these principles. That makes them score low in the test. So get your pen and jotter and jot in your own words what I say, because I cannot write everything in the slide. All right, let's get started. So, like I said earlier, the goal of this particular class is to explore the different question formats in the IELTS test. So, we're going to be exploring the listening, reading, writing, and speaking question structures, and I'll be providing you with useful tips and strategies on how to answer them so that you know what to expect on exam day. You know the order the questions are going to come, and that helps boost confidence level and just kind of makes you more relaxed. So let's get started. Now, from the moment you register for the IELTS test, you're signing up for 4 papers. That is, you'll be writing 4 different modules. We call them modules. So on exam day, you're writing 4 papers. The first paper for the day will be the listening. That usually comes first, except something happens. So the listening test is the first paper for the day. And that's a good thing because then your brain is fresh and you're well at alert, you're not too tired yet. So that's a very good time to listen. Now, after the listening paper, the second paper for the day is the reading. Then the third paper for the day is the writing. Then we have the speaking module. This one is usually done on a separate day for those that are taking the paper-based test. If you book for the paper test, your speaking will usually be on a separate day. It can be on the same day, but usually it's on a separate day. So it can be within 1 week before the day of your main test. By main test, I mean the day you write these 3 papers. Or it can be 1 week after the day you write these 3 papers. So you're not surprised. But this is for those who register for the paper test only. Now, if you register for the computer-based test, all papers are taken on the same day. So the speaking may be your first paper for that day, or it may be the last. They decide how they want it to be, but you're going to write all in one day. Now, let's get started. Like I said earlier, the first paper for the day is the listening test. So we'll be starting with the listening module. What does it involve? Now, usually, the listening test is 40 questions. The listening test is 40 questions. It is the first paper for the day. You have 40 questions and you have 30 minutes to answer the questions. At the end of the 30 minutes, they will give you 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. What does this mean? It means initially you'll be writing your answers in the question paper. So for the first 30 minutes here, write your answers in the question paper. After these 30 minutes, then I give you 10 minutes to transfer your answer to an answer sheet. But this is applicable to only the paper-based test. If you're taking the computer-based test, at the end of the 30 minutes, after you answer the 40 questions, they will just give you 2 minutes to review your answers. No 10 minutes to transfer to an answer sheet. Obviously, there's no answer sheet in the computer-based test, so you don't need the 10 minutes. Now, it's strongly advised that you write all your answers in capital letters in the listening test. That's when you are but that's only when you are transferring to your answer sheet. So in the listening test, they will play a recorded conversation for you on tape. One person or two people will be talking. It will be recorded on a tape. The tape will be played for you on exam day. You'll be given headphone. Then as you listen to these people talk, you're supposed to answer certain questions in the question paper in front of you. So the tape is going to play for 30 minutes where you answer all the questions in the question paper. That's for those doing the paper-based test, please. Then at the end, you get 10 minutes to transfer to an answer sheet. Now, when you're writing inside the question paper, it is advised to write in small letters. Now, I'll take that again. When you write inside the question paper, right, you write in small letters. Then at the end of the whole test, when they give you 10 minutes to transfer your answer to an answer sheet, you transfer everything in capital letters. Why? Because writing in small letters is easier and faster compared to when you're writing in capital letters. And in the listening test, you don't have time. Time waits for no man here. So you need to write fast. Your brain is trying to do 2 or 3 things at the same time. You're trying to listen, you're trying to read the question, and trying to write the answers. 3 things at the same time. They are conflicting. So it's very easy to get carried away. And if you don't pay attention, they will mention the answer to the next question and you won't get it. This could make you panic and you begin to lose more questions. So write your answers in small letters in your question paper. Question paper, please. Why? Because it's faster. But when they give you 10 minutes to transfer to an answer sheet, transfer everything in capital letters. And I'll be explaining why shortly, why you should transfer in capital letters. Now, this is what a typical Ielts question booklet look like. This is a snippet from the official question Cambridge series. The Cambridge series are the best official questions to practice with because this one is the official questions. It came from Ielts directly. So this is the most authentic version of Ielts you can find. Every other question you see online, probably written by some tutor or a teacher, it can never be the same as the original official one. So the best material to practice your IELTS, listening especially, with is the official Cambridge series. You can message me for how to get hold of this official Cambridge series. Now, this is what the official question look like. And I'll be showing you some tips and strategies on how to answer the question. So let's start with question number 1 here. So question number one is requesting for the name of the agent here, name of agent. So let's assume you had Becky Simons from the tape. Remember, I said the listening test involves playing a recorded conversation on tape. You hear people talking and you write the answers. So let's assume you had Becky Simons as the name of the agent. You write this down in this blank space. Remember I said you write in your question paper, right? Before you transfer to answer sheet. So if you write Becky Simons, your answer will be wrong. Why? Because Becky is already written here for you, and you are supposed to complete this line. So if you put Becky Simons here, you are repeating the word Becky. So what will be your answer? Just Simons to complete the blank space. So you are completing the line. Don't duplicate answers. That's rule number one. Don't duplicate answers. Okay. Now, the name of the person is Simons. Simons is a proper noun, so it should start with a capital letter. Proper nouns are special names of people, places, or things that are unique to them. They are the only ones bearing that name. It's not common, it's not a common name. So Simons is the name of a person. We have many people in the world, but not everybody bears the name Simons. So that is why it's special. So we call those special names proper nouns. So all proper nouns must start with a capital letter. So Simons must start with a capital letter here like this. If you fail to start it with a capital letter, you get a zero. Now, that's why we say to save you the stress, because on exam day, you may be under tension, so you may not even remember which word is a proper noun, which is not a proper noun. So to save you the stress, we say you should write all your answers in capital letters like this. So if you write all your answers in capital letters, it is 100% acceptable. And you don't have to worry whether it's a proper noun or not. So always write your answers in capital letters. But like I said earlier, it should be when you are transferring to the answer sheet. That's when you do that. For those writing the paper-based test. If you're doing the computer-based test, just put on caps lock and type your answers in the question paper directly, capital letters. It's easier for those writing the computer-based test. So you just put on caps lock and type all your answers in capital letters. Very important, please. Now, the S is very important. The person said Becky Simons. That S at the end is very important. If you fail to put that S, you get a zero. So plurals are very important. Listen carefully as the person is talking. Did the person add an S? Did the person say book or books? If the person says books and you write book without the S, you get a zero. And vice versa. If the person said book and you write books, you get a zero. So plural is very important in the Ielts listening test. Listen for plural. Now, let's look at question number 5. Question number 5 here says, it's talking about the pay. The pay is usually dash per hour. Now, let's assume you had £1,000. Like that is what the question says, the tape says. Remember, they'll play tape for you. So the tape says, the people talking in the tape say the pay is usually £1,000 per hour. Please take note. this is not £5. This five is the serial number for the question. Question one, question two, question three, question four, question five. So it is not £5, please take note. So let's assume you had the people say £1,000. Now, if you write it like this, you're going to get a zero. Why? Because the pound sign is already written there. Don't duplicate symbols. The same thing with this. If you write £1,000 like this, you get a zero because the pound sign is already there. So what would be the correct answer now? 1,000 like this. Just plain 1,000. Now, the same thing applies to other symbols like percentage, dollar, that's money symbols, dollar, naira, pounds, whatever. Time, AM or PM. For instance, we are meeting at dash PM. We are meeting at dash PM. So if you hear 5 PM, the PM is already written at the end of the blank space. So you just need to write 5. So if a symbol appears before, like in this case, before the blank space or after the blank space, don't duplicate it. Okay? All right. Now, another very important thing in the IA test is the instruction. The instruction. What does the instruction say here? The instruction said you should write one word and or a number for each answer. So this is very important. Failure to adhere to this instruction will earn you a zero. So what does this instruction even mean? What does one word and or a number mean? Okay. When you see one word and slash or a number, it means you can write one word only. It means you can write one number only, or you can combine one word with one number. Okay? For example, 10%. You had the answer 10%. So you can write 10% like this. This is one number, one word. That's this one here. One word plus one number, or one number plus one word, whichever way. So 10 is a number, percent is a word. You can combine them, it's correct. You can write it like this, 10%. It's also correct. This is a number. If you have a number and a symbol attached, it is considered a number, not a word. So together, it is considered one number. So 10% correct, 10% like this correct. But if you write like this 10%, you get a zero. Why? Because it's two words. And the question says one word and or a number. So you got to be really careful here. Now, the same thing is applicable to when you see two words and or a number. Because some question sections, some parts, this is part one. Part two could tell you two words or a number. So when you see two words slash or a number, it means you can write two words only. You can write two words plus one number. You can write one number only. And you can also write one word only, please. Take note. You should add it there, please. One word only. You can also write one word only. It's acceptable. So let's look at question number 6 to apply what we just learned. Question number 6. Wear a dash to the interview. Wear a dash to the interview. Question number 6 here. So let's assume you had the answer black shoe. Wear a black shoe to the interview. What will be the correct answer? Shoe. You have to prioritize Because if you write black shoe in this space, wear a black shoe, that's two words. And the instructions say one word and a number. So, but you had black shoe. So what do? You prioritize. Pick the word that if you put it in the blank space, it's going to make sense. For instance, wear a shoe to the interview. Yeah, somebody will understand. It's better than where you put wear a black. You say wear a black to the interview. It doesn't make sense grammatically. So you prioritize. If you hear two words and the instruction says one word or no a number, you prioritize and pick the word that makes sense when you put it in the blank space there. You get the gist. So that's how you do it. Instructions are very, very important. Now, you need a minimum of 30 over 40 to get a band 7 in Ielts academic listening. For listening, please. 30 over 40 gives you a band 7 for academic listening. But if you're going for express entry, you'll be writing IS general. So you need a minimum of 35 over 40. That's a band 8 to qualify for express entry. Not necessary to qualify, to get have a higher chance of getting invited. But your target should be around 37 over 40 before you can say you are ready to write this test. Now, for those who scored 37 over 40, you get a band 8.5. And that will give you 3 extra points compared to someone with 35 over 40, that's band 8. And you know, express entry is a point-based system, so the person with the higher points gets invited first. So just because this person here has 37 over 40 and another person has 35 over 40, just 2 mark difference, right? So the person with 37 gets 3 extra points on the express entry calculator. So it's 3 times more likely to be invited and get an ITA compared to somebody with just 35 over 40. Just 2 marks. That is why the rules I gave here, these tips are very important. Because if you don't know them, you could make silly mistakes. For instance, the answer said eggs, and you write egg without the S. Just because you didn't put that S, you're going to get a 0. And that's 1 mark down. Now, if you do that kind of a mistake twice, you have lost 2 marks. And you end up with 35 over 40. The person with 37 over 40 gets more points. So that is why you can't afford these little mistakes. So take note of the rules. What are the rules again? First of all, I said you should write all your answers in capital letters inside the answer sheet, please. What are the rules for listening? Write all your answers in capital letters inside the answer sheet, please, for those writing paper-based. If you are doing computer-based test, just put on caps lock and type all your answers in capital letters. No issues at all. 2, don't duplicate answers. Remember Becky Simons, that part where I talked about Becky Simons. Becky is already written there, so don't duplicate it again. Now, put the S in plurals. For instance, we had Simons, not Simon. That S at the end is very important. So when they are talking, make sure they pronounce a word completely before you jump to write the answer. Because when you hear Simon, you quickly write Simon. You do not wait to hear the S at the end. So pay attention. Literally, you should pay attention. Then watch out for symbols. Remember that question about pounds, 1,000 pounds. If the pound sign is already there, don't put it again. If you're talking about time, 5 a.m. If a.m. is already written for you, don't put a.m. again, put 5. Follow the instructions, one word and or a number. Again, you have to prioritize. If they say one word and or a number and you hear 2 words as an answer, for instance, black shoe, you put just shoe. Then finally, all your spellings must be correct. All your spellings must be correct. If your spellings are not correct, you get to 0. Your spellings must be correct. So that brings us to the end of the listening module. This is just a general tip. In subsequent videos, I'll do detailed classes, record classes on how to answer some of these uh, these listening questions in depth. So this is just a highlight of it. And as you can see, these are little things that make people fail the test. It's not as if they are not smart. It's not as if they are not intelligent. It's just little rules like this that can make the person score low. So take note of them. Now, over to the reading test. The reading test is the second paper for the day. The reading is the second paper for the day. After you're listening, you're doing your reading next. Usually, you have the same answer sheet for those doing the paper-based test. Listening and reading are on the same answer sheet, so they won't collect your listening answer sheet. They'll just collect the question paper. So the reading, you have 40 questions, and you're supposed to answer them in 60 minutes. Please, this time you write directly into your answer sheet, not in the question paper, please. I will say it again. For the listening test, you write the answer in the question paper first. Then you transfer to an answer sheet for those doing the paper-based test. But for reading, don't do that. Write your answer directly in your answer sheet. Why? Because they won't give you time to transfer from your question paper to the answer sheet. So they will just collect your answer sheet like that and you have black answers. Now, write all your answers in capital letters. Remember what I said in listening. The same thing is applicable to reading. Put all your answers in capital letters inside the answer sheet. For computer-based, just put on caps lock and write all your answers in capital letters. Do not answer your questions inside the question paper, please, because they won't give you time to transfer to an answer sheet. That means you'll be submitting a blank answer sheet. That's automatic 0. Now, what are the rules for the reading test? The rules are similar to the listening test rules. Write all your answers in capital letters to avoid issues with proper nouns. Put the S in plurals. This is actually easier to comply with in the reading test. The reading test involves giving you a comprehension passage, just like we have in WAEC. You see a passage, and then you answer questions that follow. So watch out for symbols. Follow the instructions. One word or a number means one word or a number, and your spellings must be correct. The same rules apply to the listening. For the reading test, you need a minimum of 30/40 to get a band 7 in the Ielts academic. So minimum 30/40 for band 7 in Ielts academic. For Ielts general, that's those going for express entry, you need a minimum of 34/40 to get a band 7. This is the minimum qualifying score if you want to get like real high points. But as usual, your target should be 37/40. You should be getting 37/40 consistently before you say you are ready to take this test. And again, the person with 37/40 gets 3 extra points on the express entry calculator compared to somebody with just a band 7. So That's 3 points. Remember, 37 over 40 give you 3 extra points from listening. 37 over 40 give you 2 extra points from reading. That's 6 extra points higher than the person with the minimum score. So that's why you need to strive to get this score. Target 37 over 40. Now, that's it for the listening and reading. Over to the writing test. Now, the writing tests, first of all, there are two types of Ielts tests. We have the academic Ielts writing and then the general Ielts writing. So there are differences between the two. We'll start with the Ielts academic. So for Ielts academic, okay, for the IELTS writing test, whether you are doing IELTS academic or IELTS general, you have two tags, tax 1 and tax 2. Tax 1 and tax 2. So for IELTS academic, tax 1 is interpretation of charts. They will give you a chart and you're supposed to interpret the data you see in that tax. This is what the chart look like. So this is what the IELTS writing tax 1 academic look like. You interpret data on a chart. Now, you have 20 minutes to interpret that chart, and you have to write 150 words minimum. 150 words minimum. But your target should be 180 words and above if you want to score a band 7. Band 7 is the minimum for IELTS for most admissions. It's not necessarily the minimum though, but if you want to score high chance of getting admission, or if you want whatever you are using your result for, IELTS 7 is usually the demanded band score for writing. So to increase your chances of getting a band 7, target 180 words and above. But the minimum should be 150 words. Now, there are 7 different types of charts that you're going to see for the IELTS academic task 1. We have pie charts, bar charts, line graph, and the rest. So I will be making videos on each one of them to explain how to go about approaching them so you are better prepared. Now, IELTS General has the same two tax 1 and tax 2. So tax 1 for IELTS General is letter writing. You have formal letter, informal letter, semi-formal letter. Only one letter type will come out on the exam day. So just one letter, please, not the 3. The same thing with the academic test. Only one out of these 7 will come out. But to be on the safer side and to increase your chances of success, we'll cover all 7 so that whichever one comes on the exam day, you will not be taken off guard. You will be well prepared. So the letter writing, it's the first task for the IELTS general test, writing test. You have 20 minutes to write this letter. You have to write 150 words minimum, but your target should be 180 words and above if you want to score a band 7. Remember, band 7 is a desired for express entry and most immigration process. Tax 2. Remember, there's tax 1 and tax 2 in the writing module. Tax 2 for both the IELTS general and IELTS academic is essay writing. You write essays for tax 2. You have 40 minutes to write these essays. You have 250 words minimum. But your target should be 280 words and above if you want the band 7. So this is what Ielts academic tax 1 look like. Interpretation of charts. This is what tax 1 Ielts general look like. Letter writing. Write a letter to your friend. They give you 3 bullet points. This is how you start it. We'll go into full detail when we come to the writing module. This is just a general highlight for you. Now, on exam day, they will give you both tax 1 and tax 2 question together, whether you are doing academic or general. Tax 1 and tax 2 question booklet and answer sheet will be given to you. You're strongly advised to start with tax 2. That is essay writing. Tax 2 is always essay writing. Start with tax 2. Why? Why do we need to start with tax 2? Because it carries double the mark. Tax 2 carries double the mark. So it's better to start with the longer tax when your brain is fresh, one that carries more mark, so that you can write it well. Even if you rush through your tax 1, the mark is smaller, so it's not going to impact more on you. It's better to rush through tax 1 than to rush through tax 2, because there is no exam where time is ever enough. Time is always a constraint in most exams. So start with the longer one more. Now, there are different types of essays you're going to do. Agree, disagree, discuss both views, and give opinion, discuss both views. So these are the different types of essays. We'll be covering them one by one. I'll be giving tips and strategies on how to answer them. So this is what the typical tax 2 question paper question look like. So just so you know, as you can see, so write at least 250 words minimum, but you should write 280 words and above. So this is what the tax 1 answer sheet look like for both academic and general. So you tick academic, you tick general. If you're writing general, you tick general. If you're writing academic, you tick academic. So this is it. The color is red. You're strongly advised to print this answer sheet before your test so that you can practice your letter writing on it or your interpretation of chart on it. Practice on the official answer sheet. You can DM me, message me for for link to the official sheet so that you can print it. The goal is to print this answer sheet, use it to practice so that you can calculate how many lines will give you the minimum word count. Remember, the minimum word count is 150 words for tax 1. You're supposed to target 180 words. If you write below that minimum 150, the chances of getting a band 7 will be slim. So you should know exactly, before you enter the exam hall, know exactly how many lines will give me 150 minimum, but the target is 180. So how many lines will give me 180? You count one by one. When you write your letter or you write your chart, you count the words one by one. Okay. In my own case now, I know that 25 lines gives me 180 words minimum. That's based on my handwriting. 25 lines, 180 words. So on exam day, I don't need to count. I don't need to waste time counting. You don't have time. Like I said, time is never enough for any test. So don't waste your time counting inside the exam hall. Print this official answer sheet before the test. Write your essay or your letter on it or your graph interpretation on it. Then count one by one. Okay? Now, so that you know how many lines will give you the minimum word count, so that on the exam day, you don't have to count. The same thing with tax 2. Print the official answer sheet to know how many lines give you the minimal word count so you don't waste time counting in the hall. Now, if you look at this booklet, it's red in color. Tax 2 is black in color. So don't mix them up because they'll give you the two together. And under exam tension, you'll see some people mix them up. They'll go and write their essay, that's tax 2. They'll write it inside the answer sheet for tax 1. That's automatic 0. And trust me, I've been teaching for years. I've seen this thing happen to students. So you don't mix them up. Tax 1 is red in color. Make sure you write your letter here or your graph interpretation here in the red one. Tax 2 is black in color. Make sure you write your essay here. If you mix them up, you get a 0. Okay? Now, let me just say this. The whole IELTS test is written with a pencil. Ideally, should be written with a pencil. But recently, I've been hearing that there are some centers that now require you to use pen. I don't know why, but just so you know, it's usually done with the pencil. But now they are shifting to pen. So get a pencil, get a pen, practice with both of them. You can reach out to your center on time to know which one you're going to be using so that you practice with that writing tool. If it's pencil, practice with pencil. If you're writing with a pen, practice with the pen. All right. So, summary of the IELTS writing test. IELTS has academic and general version. For IELTS academic, that's those going for student visa, study, or going for professional exams like pharmacy, medicine, licensing exams. You write IELTS academic. If you are going for immigration, for example, Canada Express Entry, you write IS General. Please take note. Now, for IS Academic, you have two tax, tax 1 and tax 2. Tax 1 is interpretation of chart. Tax 2 is essay writing. For IS General, tax 1 is letter writing. Tax 2 is essay writing. On exam day, they will give you the two tax 1 and tax 2 together. They'll give you 60 minutes to answer them. You're advised to always start with tax 2. Why? Because it carries double the mark. You're also advised to print the answer sheet so that you can count how many lines will give you the minimum word count. So on exam day, you don't waste time counting inside the hall, and you also don't write below the minimum word count because that will significantly reduce your score. Now, over to the IELTS the speaking test, rather, the speaking test format. So what does the speaking test entails? Now, the speaking is just 10 to 15 minutes long, and it consists of 3 parts. Just 10 minutes, actually, most times 10 minutes. So it's a short section, consists of 3 parts. We have part 1, part 2, and part 3. Part 1 is like an interview. It's a question and answer section, and it focuses on general aspects of your life, like your work, like your study, whether you live in a house, your neighborhood, just general things that you have idea about. So it's not that hard. Okay, so don't get freaked up about it. It's just general gist and talk. They ask you a question and you answer immediately like an interview. Part 2, only you will talk. They'll give you a topic and they'll give you paper. You have 1 minute to plan what you have to say about that topic. Then you are expected to talk for 1 to 2 minutes. So part 2, only you will talk. They give you a topic to talk about. They'll give you 1 minute to prepare what you have to say. Then they give you 1 to 2 minutes to talk about it. So during practice, you're advised to talk for 2 minutes. That's the maximum, 2 minutes, so that you train yourself to speak for long. Part three, it's interview like question and answer session. And it's usually a follow-up of what was discussed in in the part one, in the part two rather. It's a follow-up of what you discussed in part two. So part three is interview, question and answer. They ask you a question, you answer immediately. Okay? So that's part three. And it's usually based on the topic you answered in part two. So if your topic in part two is hotels, for instance, your part three question will be on hotels. For instance, what makes a good hotel manager? So if your part two topic is about space exploration or is about agriculture, farming, your part three questions will most likely be about farming and agriculture as well. So they repeat speaking questions a lot, so you need to practice a whole lot of speaking questions. You can reach out to me for questions bank and where to see good quality materials to practice with. Again, this is just a general overview of the question types, question formats, modules. There are special videos that are dedicated to each of these modules, so stay tuned for them. And that brings us to the end of the class. I hope you followed through to the end. You were jotting and you did not doze off. So stay tuned for the next videos and see you then. Bye bye.